Our theme today is Back to the Future. And of course, you remember the iconic trilogy of movies featuring the lovable but eccentric Professor Emmett Brown, his DeLorean time machine, and the unwitting time traveler, Marty McFly. Remember? Well, it's only fitting that in honor of our theme today, that we go back 100 years ago to rural Georgia, when a tall, determined, and handsome young man began planning his path to northeastern Ohio to create a new beginning for himself and his family. It was a journey without the technology that we've grown accustomed to today, and without many of the luxuries of the last century. It involved a 2-day train trip to northeastern Ohio. He eventually landed work at one of the tire factories in Akron. And although he had a menial job, he dressed impeccably because he knew a brighter day was coming for himself and his family. Although barely literate, he sometimes visited the local courts and observed the legal proceedings. So today, about 100 years later, it's a tribute to the determination, strength, and vision of George Prime Sr. and his wife Annabelle, that they can look down from heaven and see that their grandson is an attorney and the president of one of the largest and most prestigious bar associations in our country. Thank them. But for our purposes today, what's important about George and Annabelle Prime's story is that it is a story of northeastern Ohio, because many of your relatives also made their way to northeastern Ohio from the Jim Crow South, or the Emerald Isle, or from behind the Iron Curtain, or from so many other parts of the globe. They faced tremendous odds and many headwinds, but their strength, determination, and vision led them here to help future generations of relatives that they would barely know or never meet. These new residents were the muscle behind the factories of so many Fortune 500 companies that dotted our landscape. Factories that made northeastern Ohio an industrial giant and the envy of other cities and regions around the world. Our companies created a number of firsts in our nation. We had the first mall in the country, a short distance from here at the old arcade. We also had the nation's first business park, which was founded by General Electric Lighting, and it literally lit up the entire world. We also were home to one of the largest companies in the world, Standard Oil. Its founder, John D. Rockefeller, was said to be so powerful that he could set the world price for oil by himself. We also had the distinction of playing an important role in establishing the national philanthropic community, because the United Way and the Cleveland Foundation began in our city. Cleveland was also a national leader when it established the Metro Parks and a legal aid society. Although our theme today is Back to the Future, you don't need Professor Emmett Brown's time machine to understand that all of this success was in part because of Cleveland's vibrant legal community. 100 years ago, our law firms were among the largest in the country, and Jones Day, Squire Sanders, Baker Hostetler, and Thompson Hine were founded in Cleveland, and they and other Cleveland firms were the national model of the 20th century law firm. Our legal community was so sophisticated that it formed a bar association in 1873, 5 full years before the American Bar Association was founded. The leaders of our legal community also established the Ohio State Bar Association in our city. So if you go back to the future and look at our history in the context that each generation of Clevelanders runs a leg of a relay race in their respective era, the rich history of northeastern Ohio demonstrates that our ancestors had a very, very big lead when they passed the baton to us. They gained the lead and set many national standards through a simple recipe for success. Number one, working hard at their respective places of employment to make a better day for their families and their colleagues. And number two, working together with attorneys from different employers to create and maintain institutions to help current and future generation of Clevelanders. These are precisely my goals for the coming bar year and the goals of the strategic plan of our Bar Association. We hope to help lawyers continue to provide the best service to their clients by providing cutting-edge legal training and networking opportunities, and work together as a cohesive legal community to maintain our Bar Association and other institutions for our benefit and the benefit of current and future Clevelanders. During this year, we hope to reach these goals by, number one, creating a unique historical series that will honor and recognize our past accomplishments. Number two, continuing to offer programs to bring our law schools and our legal community closer together. Three, building on our momentum to be thought leaders by creating a symposium to help us continue to improve and enhance our legal system. And number four, continuing to promote diversity and retention. Number one, History Project. As I previously stated, we have a rich legal history in Cleveland. However, we should do a better job sharing our story. So this year in our Bar Journal, we will highlight historical Cleveland lawyers that have made our community better than they found it. The series will be coordinated by attorney John Lewis and will profile icons such as Newton Baker, who not only founded the Baker Hostetler law firm, but he served as Cleveland's mayor, and he was a modern-day equivalent of the U.S. Secretary of Defense. Attorney Lloyd O. Brown was one of the first African Americans to serve on the Ohio Supreme Court, and he created a foundation that helped so many law students pay for their legal education. Former Congresswoman Stephanie Tubbs Jones, who was one of the first African American females in the country to serve as an elected prosecutor, and so many more outstanding men and women from our city that have made our community stronger. These profiles will not only share important stories about our past, but they'll inspire current and future generations of leaders in our legal community to walk in their footsteps. Number two, cooperation. One of the reasons why our ancestors were successful creating our Bar Association and so many institutions was because of the spirit of cooperation between attorneys at different employers. We'll try to replicate this spirit of cooperation by hosting one of the first receptions for law students from Case Western Reserve School of Law and Cleveland Marshall College of Law on September 13th. Our research has shown that 70% of lawyers in this community went to law school locally, and our community can only benefit when future lawyers and future leaders get an early opportunity to interact with one another. Irrespective of where you went to law school, the outside world simply views us as Cleveland lawyers. So why not promote this type of cooperation that will hopefully spread to other segments of our legal community? We will all certainly reap the benefits. I can also tell you from my personal experience of attending law school at Georgetown that I greatly benefited from interacting with students at other law schools in the DC area. It made me a better person and enhanced my knowledge and overall educational experience. We want to extend these opportunities to future leaders of our Cleveland legal community. Number three, innovation. A simple spin in our Back to the Future time machine reveals that one of the past accomplishments of our community was recognizing a need and creating a new national model to address the concern. That is how the United Way and other philanthropic organizations were established in Cleveland. Similarly, in our internet and social media age, there's no better time to help our community get an accurate view of what we do in the legal profession. We are certainly overdue for a candid discussion about what we can do to make our judicial system more just and more accessible. Consequently, in cooperation with my alma mater, the E.W. Scripps School of Journalism at Ohio University, we will hold a unique media law summit where we'll explore how the media and lawyers can work together to develop best practices to promote the rule of law, the fair and efficient litigation of legal disputes, and a better understanding of our legal framework. During our summit, we'll have a panel of some of the most outstanding journalists in the country, including a live remote with Pulitzer Prize winner Wes Lowry of the Washington Post, and live appearances from the former editor of the Akron Beacon Journal and journalists that cover the U.S. Department of Justice and the White House for the Washington Post and USA Today. We'll also have a panel of some of my colleagues at the U.S. Attorney's Office and other outstanding litigators that will share the best practices for litigating high-profile cases in the social media and internet age. Number four, diversity and retention. Last but certainly not least, our Back to the Future time machine reveals that the unfinished business of the last century is finding new and innovative ways to promote diversity in our legal profession. We still need to make more progress in this area. Our Bar Association has made important strides with our outreach programs through the stewardship of the Cleveland Metropolitan Bar Foundation. We have the Stephanie Tubbs Jones Summer Legal Academy to teach a diverse group of high school students about the legal profession. Our Stokes Scholars Program continues this momentum by working with college students and steering them into the legal profession. Our Minority Clerkship Program helps a diverse group of first-year students obtain opportunities to work for so many different legal employers throughout our city. Brandon Brown began working with our Bar Association when he was in 7th grade, and he was able to participate in all these pipeline programs. I'm so proud that Brandon has completed law school, and he has a license to practice law in the state of Ohio. I believe Brandon is here in attendance today. Somewhere. Let's give Brandon a round of applause. As a result of our pipeline initiatives and Brandon's outstanding example, we have 10 other students from our bar programs in law school, and we have 2 additional law school graduates. We look forward to all of them joining our legal profession and becoming a part of our Cleveland legal community. In addition to our pipeline programs, we need to make sure we do everything that we can to promote retention of a diverse workforce. With Gregory Geis, our Vice President for Diversity and Inclusion, I've met with the presidents of the local bar associations of color and have explored ways to promote diversity and retention. One idea from our meeting is recognizing that we have leaders of Fortune 500 companies in New York and so many cities around the country that are saying they sell products to a diverse population and they want a more diverse group of attorneys to handle their legal work. Since attorneys now practice law across state lines, these companies are willing to hire diverse attorneys outside of their respective states. Our challenge with retention is to find ways to inform these companies that we have an outstanding group of attorneys of color in Cleveland that can do their legal work across the country. If the Diversity Committee is successful in creating a legal directory or helping to facilitate a discussion between the general counsels of these companies and our outstanding attorneys of color, this could result in additional legal business coming to our city and provide another important incentive to promote and retain a diverse workforce. This potential project with general counsels from around the country will not be an easy project to complete. I realize that. It will be difficult, and it will certainly require our brightest minds in our diversity committee and throughout our bar to create a new national model to make it a success. However, as we know from our Back to the Future time machine, ingenuity and creating new models is a story of Northeastern Ohio. It is our birthright. It is a part of our historical DNA. So let's get it done this bar year. This project is also imperative because it reflects the current reality in our legal profession. General counsels from around the country will tell you that they are currently being evaluated based upon whether they are able to hire a diverse group of attorneys to handle their company's legal cases. Therefore, to address this current reality, our diversity committee will need the support of the entire bar to create diversity programs and share best practices to help interested local firms meet and exceed the diversity requirements the general counsels are now imposing. Well, today, we began our journey 100 years ago in rural Georgia. It's only fitting that we conclude by focusing in on 100 years from now in Cleveland. At that time, the Cleveland Metropolitan Bar Association will be celebrating its 111th anniversary. And absent a real DeLorean time machine or a medical marvel, none of us will be there. But when we run our leg of the relay race within our respective era, with the determination to help our current and future relatives and colleagues, and work to uplift our bar and other institutions, we do not run alone, for we are guided by the winds of our faith, and we stir the echoes of George and Annabelle Primes and your ancestors who run beside us during our journey while whispering the words and the names of our greatest icons. Some of our greatest icons: Newton Baker, Lloyd O. Brown, Stephanie Tubbs Jones, and so many others. Although we may grow weary and face an occasional headwind, we can rest assured in knowing that if we follow the recipe for success of those that have gone before us, we too can pass the baton to a new generation of Clevelanders with our families, our employers, our bar association, and our community, in a much better place than we found them. Thank you. Now, back to the future.